All right, Jasmine, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first. This is the wrong font, plus you need a space in between those, so name and page number, so fix that. This is all good. A Walking Nightmare, I think, works as a title. I think it's all right. So you start with this statistic. I'm assuming that you had to look this up, so you need to cite this statistic. And then also Shakespeare is capitalized, so you might want to go back and look at that too. Your introduction is actually good as far as it flows. It does meander a little bit because you talk about symptoms can lead to this, to this, to this, and then you just dive into Macbeth and say Macbeth leads from this to this to this. You're just kind of repeating yourself a little bit. And I think you can probably even summarize this whole concept of, they all kind of build on each other. I think you can summarize it right there and then lead it into Macbeth, because then you have the Macbeth and this Macbeth kind of right next to each other. You introduce your main points, which is fine. His catastrophic insomniac symptoms consisted of this, this, and this, that all evidently lead to his lethal lust for power. Now, I'm hoping when I read your body paragraphs, not everything is just, oh, he had a lust for power. So hopefully you can dive in and really take a look at how those symptoms related to that. So I really do like, Jasmine, how you're tying this whole domino effect in. I really like how that is, how that works in here. In fact, I think in the future I'm going to give that hint to some people that are trying to figure out how to make their paper work well. So you have a pretty decent topic sentence. Couple of things I would point out to you. Number one, watch out for space issues, silly mistakes like that. Right here needs to be a space in between. This is probably in quotes, and I'm going to assume, I don't know if that's the most reliable source out there, so we'll go back and look at that. Falling asleep, however, the two most common causes of someone having difficulty falling asleep, however, are anxiety and depression. Okay, so that does make sense. So I like that you get into this, that this is caused by, when he kills Duncan, he has this concept of insomnia, and as a result of that, his anxiety intensifies. So this is all good stuff. Here's where you're losing me a little bit, okay? So the next part of your paper is about him, after he, well, it's not after, because you go back to scene 7 in Act 1, but you talk about there's a huge possibility that Macbeth felt an indecent amount of guilt with him for killing Duncan. It's not a possibility, it's a reality. He felt a ton of guilt, and you can look at any number of quotes from Act 2, Scene 2 to show how much guilt he felt after killing him. What I don't get is I don't get how this relates to your actual topic, because your topic is about lack of sleep and anxiety. So how does this actually relate to this symptom that you're going through? Because you're talking about his wife and how she pushes him, and then you jump back into him feeling guilt. And then the guilt leaves a weight on people, resulting in anxiety, which is fine. But why go back to scene 7 and talk about how he didn't want to do it, unless you're going to try to tie it into, you're trying to tie it in that he felt guilty, like he didn't want to do it, but then he feels guilty about it. But I don't know if that really is tying into anxiety and lack of sleep. I just don't get why you're diving into this. I just don't think it fits in the paper or in the body paragraph. Go back through and look at some of these sentences, though. There's a couple that don't flow right. You're missing a word or wrong tense or something. So go back through and read some of these sentences to make sure they flow right in here. So you have a really good transition statement that works it into your next body paragraph. But then go back and look at your thesis statement. Are you talking about your thesis statement in here? Is it more than just the idea that it is lethal lust for power? So go back to that symptom and how that symptom relates to the lethal lust for power in the end of every body paragraph. All right, so to complement his absence of sleep, Macbeth's state of physical, no comma, and mental, no comma, exhaustion leaves him with a high level of irritability. So we're going to talk about irritability and how he becomes irritable. Here is, and then afterwards, sorry, before I even get to that, I like how you bring up the survey. I like the outside sources here, which is really good. Again, you have space issues here and here. I don't know if that's a reliable source. They are easily annoyed and aggressive the following day is what you're trying to tell me. Now, what I don't necessarily care for is all of this leading down to here, okay? All of this is plot. This is all just plot. So he does this, then he does this, then he does this, then he does this, and then Lady Macbeth dies, and then he doesn't care. So all of this is plot. Now you're using examples, which is fine. But you can't just say, oh, he's irritable, here's a definition of irritable, here's things that he does that is irritable, and not talk about how the symptom and the main points go hand in hand. Because remember what I told you what you do at the beginning. If that's your thesis statement, I don't want you to just say he had a lust for power, because that's all you can get into right here. So you really need to tie the symptom and the main points together a little bit better. He starts to experience hallucinations. I bet you can come up with a better transition, but at least you're using them, which is better than a lot of your peers. All right, Jasmine, don't have this transitional statement here and then nearly repeat it as your topic sentence in the next paragraph. That doesn't make any sense. So you got to come up with a new way to put that topic sentence in and or transitional statement. And so you get into this I function, blah, 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 which I think what the most important part of this with the whole hallucination thing is this part at the end, which is resulting in temporary insanity. I think that's the part you need to focus on. I don't care about I functions and neurons and blah, 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 blah. I would focus on the fact that this is causing insanity. Again, is that the best source? I don't know. I'm going to guess no. This relates to Macbeth in such a way that because of lack of sleep, it becomes too strained. So I like that idea, that strain to produce a picture of reality. I really like that as analysis. This is good analysis and what you need more of. Instead, his brain delivers a delusion. Then, like before, which at least you have this in front of it, so that's much better. The rest of it is just plot. Don't use the word very. But you have just plot, and then he's trying to cling on to his hold of power, which is your thesis statement, essentially. So you need to just kind of repeat that statement, that beginning statement again, which is not necessarily the best thing in the world to do. But anyways, you need a little bit more. But at least this one, like I said, at least this one, you had a really good connection between your outside source and what it does to Macbeth in here, which is what I was hoping for. All right, so you do a good job of restating the thesis. So then you go back through and summarize the body. You want to know how to trim off your paper here. It's okay to summarize, but you're doing way too much summary in here that's just plot details. I want to know summary of how the symptom and the thesis all kind of relate together. And I don't want just plot details. I already read all these plot details up there. So you could trim a lot off your paper by doing that. Get rid of very. And then you only leave one sentence as an out sentence, as a clincher, and it's actually a very boring and awful sentence. Is it perhaps a more extreme illness than most people think? That's not a good question. So you got to think of a different way to clinch it. Because you really might almost already know the answer to that question. All right, number one, obviously you copied and pasted this from somewhere. So certainly that's a problem because it's not the right font, the right color, it has a background to it, everything else. Remember the first line is over here and subsequent lines are tabbed over. This probably needs to go all, and you just start with this. I have no idea what this is or what the website is. I have no idea what this is or what the website is. That doesn't sound reputable to me. I don't know. I'm having some problems with the words or the sources that you have, they don't look like reliable, reputable sources that I would trust. So you need to really think about that in the future, Jasmine, what you're trying to put together. I like that you use the study, but use the actual study. Don't just use the site where you got it from. All right, so you do a lot of good things, Jasmine, in here. You really don't have a ton of punctuation errors. I'd love to have you clean up the language. Love to have more of a look at your thesis, how it's tied in, but you certainly do a lot of things well. Hopefully a rewrite will polish all those things up.